And if you thought a sexy nurse or a sexy firewoman was bad, check this out. Online retailer Brands on Sale has unveiled this new ensemble, a sexy Ebola containment suit featuring a short white dress, a face shield, a breathing mask, safety goggles and blue latex gloves. A pair of bright yellow knee-high rubber boots can be purchased at an additional cost. I'm telling you now, if you went to any Ebola area with that, you'd get it in about 2.5 seconds because it's just, what is it, Serena? It just seems to be once a year, and I'm no prude, but I mean, normal, sensible women just lose their run of themselves and look like streetwalkers.
Yeah, I don't get it. Excuse me, maybe it's because they've left it to the last minute. There's nothing left in the shops and that's all that's left and aimed at them.
No.
I actually don't like it because I agree. I thought Halloween was supposed to be scary. I actually hate Halloween, but I thought it was supposed to be a time where you get dressed up really scarily. A friend on Facebook in the States, you know, they're huge into Halloween there, and she's looking for outfits and she's been posting photos of these sexy outfits. The latest one is it's $60 to buy a sexy rip-off of Cookie Monster.
Cookie Monster?
Yeah, they're calling it
Monster.
the Biscuit Muncher. And you've got
that's just wrong now on many levels. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No.
You dress up all the time.
Listen, I love Halloween.
But do you go with the gore or with the kind of...
A bit of both, actually, a little bit of both. Look, it's become a huge, big thing. I really do mean it. I'm in the business of the makeup, so the amount of people that come in, and of course, we're more into the makeup side of things, but people want to look sexy and gory at the same time. So you're kind of making them a beautiful makeup and then putting something extraordinary in there, like a slit throat or something. So you've got kind of two things going on. No, it is great fun, girls, because you end up having great crack yourself. Like, I think it brings everybody, it's a bit like you're a character and you're able to be something that night or that party or whatever it's going to be. It's only fun. But it has definitely become a huge, big celebration thing in Ireland, and it originated in Ireland as a pagan. It originates, and the pumpkin thing used to be turnips. That we brought it to America, that whole idea of cutting out the pumpkin thing. So we should make the most of it. I mean, there's very few things. I actually think it's nearly bigger for adults than Christmas is. It's a better, more fun thing, Halloween, than Christmas
but
is.
For a lot of times, it's just
Honestly,
for adults, you can kind of look like a bit of a woman of easy virtue, for want of a better phrase, and get away with it.
Do you know what's interesting? Loads
Once
of men,
a year you can get away with it.
Loads of men want to dress up as women. Now there's another, like at Halloween.
Because they're not judged for it, and they probably
so they
always
want to become
to.
women, and yeah, the women obviously they take a step out of
dying
themselves.
to get in here. I can see by your
I just think that adult is the word, and what I think is that it's creeping lower and lower and lower. I've no issue with a 35-year-old woman or 30-year-old woman who wants to dress in whatever way, but that's not what I see. What I see is 18, 17, 16, 13, and I see costumes that are being targeted at girls of an age. I'm 31. Not in a million years would you've seen that when I was that age.
Yeah, it's too sexualized.
And I see pictures on Facebook of your average Saturday night, which I find kind of, 13, really? And then on Halloween, I'm starting to see, and it's just even an excuse to push the bar out even further. There has to be a limitation, I think, to you know, the sexualization of teenage girls. And I think this is, whatever about adults, it feels like it's a free-for-all for kids as well. I find it really uncomfortable.
The scary thing is a lot of parents are quite accepting of it because that's what they're all dressing like now, so that's what teenagers are doing. You see it all the time, these teenage discos, they're going around in short shorts, belly tops, and they're 12 and 13 and wearing absolutely nothing. I mean, it's like tied up there, literally nothing.
And the makeup and everything. I mean, I remember going to a disco when I was trying to get in, you know, when I wasn't of age, and the bouncer saying to me, "Did your babysitter let you out tonight?" Because you couldn't hide your age. Now with makeup and tan and eyelashes and hair and the whole thing. I have people who are in my Facebook feed who are my relatives or whatever else, and they're 12 and 13 and they could be 25.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the worrying thing. So no one treats you like a 13-year-old when you're out dressed like that with makeup because they think you're 25.
Yeah.
And that's a whole, you know, issue there for young girls going out, and it's very uncomfortable. I think it's something that's really getting worse, I feel, every year. Maybe it's me getting older, but no, I feel like it's just getting more and more shocking.
But there's a lot of blurred lines now, particularly when trying to judge the age of a girl, particularly because boys, in fairness, they don't tend to mature as quickly as girls do. They don't shoot up or get the face facial hair and that sort of stuff. But girls, some of them from the age of 12 or 13, I mean, I know I developed quite early. Thank God those clothes weren't around at the time, but it's quite frightening.
But see, that's why it scared Sarah, you were saying as well, you know, at least when you make the decision as an adult to wear these things, you are an adult. But then this is what young girls are aspiring to. I think I think what we should be aspiring to is check out Heidi Klum at Halloween. I think she does Halloween perfectly.
Amazing.
She is all about the gore and the over the top and not what, okay, she looks gorgeous, but it isn't about looking hot and looking sexy. It's about getting into the spirit of Halloween.
What's the last time you dressed up as something for Halloween? What did you dress up as?
I never see in Australia. Halloween is big now in Australia, but growing up, we never did Halloween.
Do you do it here even?
No, well, now I sort of have to because my kid came home and she's like,
trick or treat.
Well, we're not going trick or treating. She doesn't know about that. But you know, at creche they have the Halloween parties, so she's going as a witch.
Yeah.
By
you
her
ever dressed
choice.
up?
I did. I full length fake black mink coat down to the ground with a white streak and red nails and red lipstick and a Dalmatian, Cruella de Vil. Yeah. And I looked very good as Cruella de Vil.
I'd say
and you
did.
Probably felt great. You probably had great fun.
Yeah, it was
being
great. It was lovely. I was taking Susie round. It was when she was very small and she was dressed as a witch. Whatever happened to witches? I mean, I don't care about those women dressing up in all those things because they're probably going to, you know, adult parties. They're not walking around the street.
They are. That's the thing. They are.
The trouble is, like, I mean, all the costume shops have all those sexy. Now, I don't agree. I mean, I think the idea of going and spending a load of money on a costume like that.
What did you dress up as last year?
Well, I always take something, I really mean it, I always take something from the wardrobe. So like I'm taking a black dress or something, but I go for the makeup. I love, like I put a set of horns on, like I really mean it, that look like they're really growing out of your head. And like fangs, so I would like go as a vampire and I would have blood and things. So I love the gore of Halloween and that's what I would, you know, embrace. And the dressing up of all the sexy stuff, I agree, it is a step too far and it's getting worse and it is that young market. I would only say that I have a young daughter myself and who is in that, I think it is, I'm hoping, a phase that they're going through. I think that young girls of a certain age, that 13 to maybe 15 actually do go through that phase of false tan and all of that. But I think then they do grow.
So I do want to know any of your amusing Halloween outfits. One of the girls in the newsroom told me she dressed up as Copperface Jax with a toilet on her head and a copper face, which I think is genius. Anyway,
that's magic. Yeah, that's brilliant.
Lots to come on Midday today, including have you ever been bullied as an adult and how did you cope? See for that in 3. You're very welcome back to Midday, where I'm joined here in studio by Tina Kumarianos from partyandwine.com, from Spin 1038, Serena Bellissimo from Makeup Forever, Annie Gribben, and finally we have Sarah Ryan from One Big Switch. Now to some of your texture tweets and your comments. The texture, do we not remember the line from Mean Girls? In girl world, Halloween is the one night of a year when a girl can dress up like a total slut and no girls can say anything about it. Think there's an element of truth to that?
I'm not saying anything.
Yes, you're thinking.
Who's
yes,
the biggest
We're saying
slut?
plenty about it.
What?
We're saying plenty about it.
Yeah. Hayley says it's horrible if you're not body confident being a young girl. I made my costume this year because I was sick of having to choose either sexy something or else totally rotten something or a vampire. Halloween is a great time to be creative and have fun. Kate says, yes, I do like to dress that way on occasion, but only when it's behind closed doors with people I know. People, singular or plural. Not on the street, because then you're just asking to be abused by anybody, male or female. Halloween has now turned into who can look like the sexiest in the night. Gone are the days of going back to the press under the sink and taking out a roll of black bags. It used to be about being scary. Now it's all about looking slutty. Tin foil and black bags, I think, is what most people's Halloween outfits are made of.
Can we just come back to that comment for a sec? She said, you're dressed like this, so you're asking to be abused. Nobody is asking to be abused. You can dress how you please. It doesn't give anyone permission to treat you in a certain way.
Yeah.
Correct. I would agree with
but that's when people say, like, if you're drunk and if you're this, you deserve to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's obviously not. Lots more texts here about the dummy as well. I have 2 little boys. Now, first one never had a soother. The second one got one at 7 months. However, I hate seeing kids older than 2 or 3 max with soothers. It's completely unnecessary. I've seen photos on Facebook of kids 5 and 6 sitting with a soother in their mouth. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's bad for their teeth and it's babying them. Well, a completely opposite opinion here. I still suck my thumb if I'm in a really bad mood or sick, and I'm I'm 36. Anyway, keep them coming empty for us, followed by your comments to 53131. Now, when it comes to love and marriage, is it a case of once bitten, twice shy, or can things actually work out the second time around? Well, Ronan Keating certainly thinks so. The singer says he plans on walking down the aisle again, this time with his current beau, Australian producer and model Storm. So, when it comes to taking vows for the second time, does the marriage have a better chance of working? Well, the Midday cameras were out and about getting your say. Take a look.
No, I don't think so. No, if you haven't learned the first time, I don't think you're going to learn the second time. I think you're just chancing it again.
Everybody's different. There are people who have been 2, 3, 4, 5 relationships and they haven't worked out, so I couldn't guarantee second time round it's going to work out any better than first time round.
I've been married for 30 years, so it wouldn't make any difference to me now. I don't think, no matter how long you're married, whether it's first time, second time or third time, it all depends on your situation and what you bring to the wedding, like, you know, what you bring to the marriage.
Well, you develop as a person, I'm sure. I'm sure you just didn't work out the first time, try it again. Might as well, no harm trying.
I think probably if you've learned from the mistakes of the first time, I think most definitely if you're doing it and you're a bit more mature, got a more mature outlook, and you've put a lot more thought into it.
You make a few mistakes the first time round, and you would obviously fine-tune your second go, you know.
Fine-tuning.
Yeah.
I do think probably marriage should be only a 10-year lease, to be quite honest with you. I've been there a long, long time myself, but maybe second time round, you might actually find somebody that you really are mad about.
Okay, well, there's some honest opinions there. 10-year lease, Tina, do you agree with that?
Yes, I think a 7-year lease really would be better. I seem to do everything in 7 years. Would I marry again? No, I didn't like it. I knew I wouldn't, but I'd try anything once. I went into it and I thought, okay, I gave it my best shot. It lasted 17 years, but I just don't like being tied down. And also, it wasn't what I was, it was kind of more uninteresting than I was expecting. So I wouldn't want to revisit that, even though I don't think I'd be as patient this time, because looking back now, I think, I wouldn't put up with that, you know, now.
Okay,
so, no, I don't think it would work for me at all. Plus, you probably get somebody who had baggage, like other children and a wife. I'm okay because my husband's, Australia. But I think to get involved with somebody and marry somebody who has a wife here in Ireland and children here in Ireland, and what happens when he dies, if he dies before you, and then you've got, what about his money? I mean, does it go to his children? Does it go to you? Is it divvied up? No, I'd rather just keep everything of my own. And
so you're not really embracing the grand romantic idea of marriage for the second time and finding the one true love. It's more of a practical.
It's it is totally practical if you're going back into it for a second time, because first time you go in and you're 99% of people are very starry-eyed about the whole thing. But I think if you're going back into it, especially at my age, it's for company, and you don't want to go into your old age on your own sort of thing. But that doesn't mean you just have to stick to one person. You're still waiting for the grand
passion, aren't you?
Oh, gee, any day soon. Listen, that whole marriage thing, I think that, right, if there's a broken marriage, and if it isn't sorted out properly, I mean, that baggage thing, as we call, I think you leave one situation, you go into another situation, and men seem to move rather swiftly and quickly sometimes. Yes. But if you haven't dealt with your issues from the first situation, it's a bit like you just carry it into the next, and it may become disguised for a while, but I think things just come up to surface eventually. So I think, look, it's pot luck. It could be pot luck. I think that idea of the lease thing is not a bad idea.
Imagine having to renew your marriage after 10 years, a 10-year lease, and I'm sure we'll revisit the terms here.
Performance review.
But was there not something back in, we're talking about many, many, many blue moons ago in Ireland, way before Christianity, was there not something about a deal that you had
women could actually
3.5 year, that's why all those 7 years.
Then,
there was, I'm
there
telling
was,
you, there was a different way of marriage. I think there was a kind of a certain length of time, and then you could opt out.
That's when the females did run the show then. They were the matriarchs.
And how clever is that? I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, We all like either, the luck is, I think it is a lottery marriage. I think you could be that lucky that you just kind of grow together and everything works out magically. Otherwise, I think there's potential to be with lots of different people in your life, because you fall in love, you change in all your different years of growing up, you feel different about different things. So you could be married more than even 2 times.
But you know what? I think if you knew it was a 7-year lease, you'd both be, especially if you liked the person, you'd be on your best behaviour, because you think, listen, this guy can exit stage left in a year and a half from now.
Would you really?
Yes, I think you would. It's like going out with somebody. What they're like when you're going out with them is them at their very best. Once you marry them, they're sort of, fall apart at the seams a bit. No.
Honeymoon period.
Yeah,
the illusion is being shattered now, Sarah. I think we live in a country that's changed so quickly. Like, I remember being in school and one girl in my class, her parents were separated, and I was really shocked, like surprised to hear that. I didn't know, that this could happen, really. And I think now, we're starting to develop as a country kind of narratives of how to navigate this as a concept. So I found Ronan Keating speaking like this really insensitive, because I think that he was married to somebody. If memory serves, he wasn't particularly well behaved within that marriage. He had children, and if I was sitting at home and my sister's ex-husband was speaking about his new relationship, like as if he's Tom Cruise moving on with his life and this is real, almost as if that wasn't real, it's quite rude. It's quite offensive.
It is.
Like, we're all happy for you to be moving on with your life, but you don't need to denigrate the previous relationship just to make this one be real. Like, I don't care if he's with somebody, but I just found I kind of bristled for his ex-wife and for his family.
This is the mother of your children.
The mother of your children. And also for the girl that he's with now. I'd be thinking, if I were her, well, in 3 years' time, am I going to be and this one's the real one? It's a bit, just move on with your life.
Irina, we'll get you in here. You're being very quiet on this topic.
I think marriage is great.
She's afraid to say that because she's next to Tina.
Get me away.
You're allowed to say that.
I think marriage is brilliant if you're in the right relationship.
Of course.
She's getting nervous.
I'm getting really nervous. Things change. When you're first together, it's very, very passionate and stuff, but it doesn't mean it's not passionate. Tomorrow, happy anniversary to me. Tomorrow I'll be 9 years married. And I actually couldn't be happier. I am thrilled with him. So, and if we did have a 10-year lease, I wouldn't be changing my behaviour around now. I'm hoping that every day we're together, we're acting the way we're supposed to be acting towards each other. And there's down days, but the up days are so much better, and I'm thrilled to be married to him.
Well,
that's lovely.
You're very lucky. I mean, that's the way it should be, of course. It should be that way, and there are some very, very lucky people out there, and fair play to them.
For every, I know it's an awfully cynical thing to say, but for every person I know like you, there's 5 who are stuck in a miserable marriage.
And if you are, I think it's time to get out. Get married for all the right reasons. I remember someone I knew said she was only getting married because that's the only way she could leave her parents' house. Yeah, well, very old-fashioned Italians, and their daughter wasn't to move out until they were married. There was 2 ways out. She was either going out married or another way, but she wasn't leaving the parents.
Or everyone else is getting married, so should we. Is another thing. Isn't that the thing you do?
And that's when marriage is terrible, when you're not in it for the right reasons. And
what age were you when you got married, though?
30. But
a lot of people do tend to bite the bullet at 30.
But you see, my parents, I mean, honest to God, they had the happiest marriage of any people I know. They were crazy. My father, my mother would be doing the dishes and he'd have his arms wrapped around and, are you all right, darling? Which is really odd that I had such a sort of withered look on marriage from day one. Not as a little girl. Never once did I think about, the veil and this. From day one, it filled me with horror, the whole idea, because I felt I'd be trapped.
Ownership.
I have that as well, yes.
So trapped. And I think that's why I had a lot of affairs, because I knew these people were going home at the end of the night and I didn't have to deal with them.
Acute commitment phobia.
Correct. I think that is what I have. I do. Yeah. Because still, if a relationship is getting too tying, I get a band across my chest.
I feel like trapped like a rat.
Yeah, really. And then when you get rid of the person, oh, it's like I've won the lotto. I feel so relieved and happy. I know I should be feeling the other way.
That's your issue.
I think it is an issue. I think it is an
Sheryl
issue.
Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, she gives a really good talk about why there aren't more women leaders, and she always, one of her lines is, make your partner a real partner, and it's quite like that, in that a lot of women, I would feel trapped marrying somebody who I felt was going to limit my ability to develop what I want for me. You know, so there's kind of your own life and your own plans for yourself, and then you get into a marriage with somebody else. And she gives a really good talk talking about, you know, make your partner a real partner, marry a guy who supports you, and if it's not going to be on the cards, make sure you have a discussion that there won't be a dinner at 6 o'clock every night because you're at work too, and that you will be splitting the household work 50-50 because you don't have any more time than he does, etc., etc. So I think for me, the concept would be feel very trapping if I thought I was going to marry somebody who was going to be like, well, now that you've had that fun with your career nonsense, let's get you into the kitchen for some babies. You know, like, it depends on the person.
That's the perfect word. You're not, it's a partnership.
Yes.
And if you look at it in that way, I think that is, and that's how I see my marriage. We support each other. Like, you know, there's times when I'm down and he's my best cheer squad and he gets me up, and vice versa.
You were completely plucked out of your life when you got married. The opposite happened to you. It was your worst nightmare, kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
really.
he didn't want me to work at all, and so suddenly I was in a foreign country sitting in a house with nothing to do. I finally, about 5 years later, I managed to get a job where, you know, and I was so delighted to be out and, you know, with people in an office. But then he went to my boss and said, no, Tina isn't available to work full-time. She can only work mornings. And I mean, no discussion with me. There was telephones in every room in the house, a telephone in the car when nobody had a telephone back in the early 80s. I mean, it was talk about revenge, payback for all the years I was sort of, you know, free as a bird. And that, to me, that is why I think I have such an issue. The idea of marrying again. Oh Lord, I'd rather go into prison.
I'm actually getting a band across my back, thinking of being in that situation.
Oh yeah. It reminded me of the film Sleeping with the Enemy, with the cups all lined up.
And tightening around your throat.
That was really unlucky. I mean, there are guys out there, and of course they want the woman that will be that submissive or whatever, and they want to control. So there's major control issues.
But you know, that's why
not about
when
partnership
people,
or love or
you know,
anything.
when people say, you know, you're very, very flippant about your husband's affair, it was like getting out of prison. It was like passing the parcel to somebody else. And I mean, I'm sure she's probably very happy with him, but it was like, again, winning the lotto, to be free, to be totally free and not have anyone tell me what to do.
No one has since, I would imagine.
No, no, not at all. And the slightest sign of it, I'm gone immediately. And that's why Jack's so brilliant, because he's a airy-fairy. He doesn't give a damn either. And I mean, he doesn't want to get involved. So that's really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine. It works for some people, but I think it was possibly just that I made my husband wait for 7 years. And, you know, he then, once he got me, it was that. And no harm to him. He was a really nice bloke, but no.
I know loads of stories like that.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll get your reaction to this story and all the others afterwards. See you in a few minutes. You're very welcome back to Midday. Now, time for some of your texts or tweets and your comments about costumes. This comment might be a reason why we shouldn't dress in a certain way at Halloween. Signed to the men of Ireland. Ladies, Halloween is the best night of the year. Stop discouraging girls from dressing sexily. Don't take that away from us. We need it. Okie dokie. Right. Melanie says, I was browsing in a costume shop yesterday and I overheard two 16-year-olds commenting on the costume, saying, God, they're so over-sexualised. It was actually refreshing to hear. And we have a huge reaction to second time round, can marriage work a little bit better? Thomas says, marriage is for life, even in strife. I love my wife, you just have to work at it. Geraldine says, once a cheater, always a cheater, reborn. Yeah, right. Jane says, not necessarily will second marriages work. Look at how many people marry 2, 3 times and even still get it wrong. No one works at relationships anymore. Everyone forgets nobody is perfect, not even ourselves. If you can't accept someone's faults and all, don't marry them. Simple. People get married after a few months or without living with the person first. How are you supposed to know if it's going to work? If the first didn't work, surely you'd take your time about going for it for a second time. Did you live with Brian before you got married?
Yeah, for about a year before we got
Are you
married.
glad you did? Or did it make much of a difference?
Didn't really make a difference. Like, you know, when everyone says when you move in it's going to be tough, it just, we were really lucky. Everything just sort of happened. And I think that's because we didn't put any pressure on the relationship. I always thought he was going back to Ireland. So I was just like, oh yeah, whatever. This is fun. And as a result, it just worked.
And at what point did you realise you'd be going back to Ireland with him?
Actually, I asked him to come back. After we were married, I'm the one. Like, he keeps telling me off because everyone's like thinking that he dragged me over. But I'm the one who said, Brian, we'd been married 10 months. And I said, let's go over to Ireland for a year. So 8 years later, we're still here.
But it's raining here.
Why? I know, that's the only thing I can't handle.
You know, I asked Sandy to live with me before we got married, and he refused point blank. He said, no, if you live with me, you marry me.
Was it just not done in those days, though?
No, it was.
He just didn't want the mask to slip.
Yeah, Jesus. Now, looking back, it was the mask. He refused point blank. I said, come on, it's the woman that's supposed to say this, not the man. No, I won't. No, we won't live together.
Yeah, living with somebody, really, all the masks do fall off.
Yeah.
Did you ever live with anyone?
Oh yes, yeah, years ago, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. You see an awful lot more when you live with somebody.
Not saying that we're angels either, to be quite honest. I'm sure we're not the best, easiest person to live with
I've
either.
never lived with anyone except Sandy, never.
And is it because you're afraid to now still?
Yeah, I wouldn't like it. I love my own home. No, I wouldn't like to live with somebody.
Yeah,
no.
I think you can get used to living alone, though. That's
Oh,
the
I do
thing.
like
I
it.
travelled a lot, and I always lived on my own. And then when I've lived with people, I noticed very quickly. I noticed my own kind of twitches, like you know what I mean, like living with a child. I can't find it, shouting from another room. If I go in there, I know, and I can hear my mother.
Yeah,
Except,
if I go in there,
I know I'm going to find it. Yeah, it's right there. Oh, or, you know, shouting and different people's kind of behaviours. So if you live alone for a while, you can kind of get a bit too used to it.
What's the solution then? Because if you live with somebody, then after all of that, I mean, and the little things really, really bug you.
You keep your house.
Yeah.
And you move home again.
My friend has this idea for the perfect relationship. Get two houses side by side and have a conservatory linking them in the back.
Do you know what? My sister told me she's got a husband and wife friends in San Francisco, and they have two houses, and they date, and they have the happiest marriage.
See, that sounds like a good idea.
They date, and she said it is amazing. You couldn't, I mean, it's just wonderful.
Do they have kids or anything?
Yes.
And who
Yes,
do they live with?
well, whoever they like, you know. One's got a house in town, the other's outside San Francisco. So, and I mean, they do visit each other and everything, but it's really great because the kids can stay in
Or
town.
some of the marriages where the husband is travelling all the time, like on business.
I hear now. No.
Well, that's why my mother's
great
was
marriages,
so successful, because my father was away for 2 years at a time. So when he came
for
back,
God's
it
sake.
was another honeymoon.
There you go.
It was
That
great.
is-
At full 2 years at a time without coming
Full
home.
2 years at a time. In those days, yes, if you were a captain on oil tankers, you were away for 2.5 years at a time, then you'd come home for 6 months.
No wonder it was blissfully happy.
Yes, yes.
Now we're getting a
And
bigger
that's why
picture.
all those women were so strong. All my aunts married chief engineers, sea captains, whatever.
all gone.
So all those Merrick women did their own thing and brought up their children on their own, and it was fine. It was great.
And
There
sure,
was-
you know, actually, that's a
I'm
common...
not sure I'd be happy with
it's
my husband
actually-
living away for 2 years at a time.
I would have been.
It's very common. It's very common that when men retire after being married for 30, 40 years,
They die.
whatever it is, well, besides dying, but you know, the minute they retire, the relationship really gets into difficulty.
It does, yeah.
There you go.
And then they die.
That does happen quite
Do you know
a lot.
what? Positivity, please.
Yeah,
Can
right,
we have
you
some
rescued
positivity?
all here.
I think there's lots of annoying little things, and I'm sure I'm annoying or whatever, but like I think that there's nothing that really replaces lying on the couch and watching Love Hate on a Sunday with somebody. I like living with somebody, you know, it's nice.
I lie on the couch.
I think
You're young. You're young.
maybe I'll get over it in a couple
I
of
love
years.
love hate.
Or not.
And then they're all whacking each other left, right, and centre,
Absolutely.
and not in a good way. End this on some positive notes here, because you're all blissful and lovely and happy and
I
everything.
think you need to do whatever works for you in your relationship and just make sure you're going into it for the right reason. And it's coming back to what Sarah said. It's a partnership. Nobody owns anybody in a relationship. You can still be your own person, and make sure you're not joined at the hip. You know, make sure you still have your interests. He or she still has their interests. And at the end of it, the biggest thing is your love and affection for each other.
I wish you
Yeah,
could
I
see the
think-
way she keeps looking at me like this, waiting for me.
We actually can.
And I think
we're still positive on this side of the table as well about it all.
I think it's like it should be treated more like a little bit of a business, where if you put a bit of effort in and you
get
communicate
rewards.
with each other.
Okay,
I mean,
right. That's it from us today. If you missed any of the show, remember you can catch up anytime on the 3-player at 3:30 on Late Lunch Live. Lucy and Martin will have Master Chef Judge Nick Moulier on the sofa, and Conor Pope will be telling them how to get the best on health insurance. And we'll see you back here tomorrow at 11:30. Bye bye.